Hello again, you're watching Good Morning Britain. Now then, a unique play performed by school children is taking the anti-drink driving message to the classroom. It's based on the story of Tony Poulton from Essex, convicted of drunk driving after a car crash in which her sister, who'd been a passenger, died. Adrian Brown reports on a play born out of a tragedy.
As sisters, Tony on the right and Joanne were very close. Joanne might still be alive now had Tony not been at the wheel of a car when they were last together. Their final moments were as they drove along this Essex road on June the 20th, 1983. Both had been drinking. Tony was at the wheel when the car suddenly came off the road and crashed here. Joanne died outright, but Tony survived. Out of the tragedy that happened here almost 4 years ago has come a new play. And what's so unusual about it all is that the person who was responsible for that crash has collaborated actively in the production. The play, Too Much Punch for Judy, is an Epping Youth Theatre production. Essex County Council so impressed that they want it shown in all their schools.
No, it's my car, it's my responsibility.
Ignorance!
But I haven't had as much to drink as you. I'll only be a little bit over the limit.
Ignorance!
OK then. You drive.
Through the tragic story, it is a warning against drinking and driving, but it's through the unique story that we've been able to tell. And the opportunity that Tony's given us by speaking so honestly, and I think one has to admire her courage for doing that.
The play has a promising future with its sad and simple message.
And I will never drink and drive again for as long as I live. Never, ever. I just couldn't do it.
Well, the message fairly obvious, as Adrian pointed out. The lady at the centre of the incident, Tony Poulton, and the 15-year-old actress Faye Davis, who we saw in that play, have joined us in the studio this morning. Tony, if I can start with you. It's not an experience that you would wish upon your worst enemy, that, is it? What a terrible time you must have been through.
Well, yeah, I suppose it was, really.
Did it take much time on your part thinking about whether to get involved in the play?
Not an awful lot, because after Mark came round to see me, like Mark Wheeler, he more or less convinced me, really, that he thought it was going to do a lot of good. So I decided to go along with him.
What was life like for you immediately after the accident?
Well, I suppose it was a bit... I don't know, really. I felt very numb for a long time, and it was very difficult to accept.
Your sister had been stopped, hadn't she, recently, previous to the accident, for drunk driving, which is why you were in charge of the car, in fact.
That's right, yeah.
The message, as I said, fairly obvious. Don't drink and drive. Have you learned your lesson?
Yes, most definitely.
Faye, tell me a little bit about the play. You've had to work or live and breathe Tony almost these past 2 or 3 months. How much have you learned? Do you have any sympathy for her, for the character?
Oh, yeah. Of course you do. It was an accident, and you can't... She's admitted that, OK, it was her fault, you know, she was drunk, but you still have to find some sympathy for her.
Do you think the message will come across, as it has done to us, for youngsters of your age, that you just do not drink and drive?
Yeah, well, it's come across to me, so it's got to come across to everybody else, hasn't it? I mean, you can't really be stupid enough to ignore it. You've got to take a look and think, well, they've got some sense in that.
Tony, it's really almost impossible to imagine. People use the word guilt, but how on earth you must have coped with that? I mean, obviously you have now, but it must have been horrendous at the time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to be honest, it took a long time to accept it. I honestly thought I was going to see her again and everything, but then you accept it and you've got to live with it.
And do you, in a way, have to forgive yourself eventually?
Yeah.
What about internally within the family, Tony? Because Joanne was very close to your mum, wasn't she? Were there problems?
No, not at all. She was really good about it. She's never been the least bit awkward or anything. She fully understands.
Well, Essex Police, I think, have also been fairly impressed with the idea of the play, and they're hoping to take it into schools, in fact, aren't they?
Yeah.
Employ professional actors in order to further underline what we're
Yeah.
talking about. Tony and Faye, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, and best of luck with the play, Faye. We've already heard, let me tell you, a little sneak preview of Popeye. Now it's the time for the man himself, Jane.
That's right.